Well, Louise Gill, today we have a champion meal before us. It's Pelau with, what is this, beef? Pork? Chicken. Coleslaw, cucumber, and is it curry chicken? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And all of this comes from Dale Tech and Kristy. You know Dale Tech. He went recently to Togo with Lasana. Quite a lovely young family. Beautiful, friendly, always smiling, making life happy for others. So today he has brought us, and he and Mr. Lasana and the wife and the kid, they have gone to, beautiful daughter, they've gone to Guayagari side. But they made sure that we were not left without something also. And we appreciate Dale Tech and Kristy. We appreciate and we want to thank you very much for the thoughtful act of leaving a meal behind for us. So Louise, you can give thanks quietly. Very nice. If you want to do the honors, please, of sharing, share, please. Let me just show people what that pilau looks like. Mm-hmm. Yes. Take a look at this. Oh my! I can't seem to maneuver this thing at all. Oh! Look at that! Gorgeous. Right? And we also have here the coleslaw. Oops. Well, of course, we have here the curry chicken. I could imagine eating this at the seaside, you know. I feel like I get a bucket of salt water there and sprinkle with some it, you know. What do you say? Yes. Beautiful. Into the plate she comes. Very good. You know, one thing we can't underestimate, no matter what people might think, we cannot underestimate the thankfulness of others, the sharing capacity that Trinidadians have. But we know that this sharing runs throughout our island, I would say even in Tobago, in Guyana, and someone recently said, Barbadians could cook good too, you know, and we agree with that. Barbadians can really cook also. I have never been to Dominica, but I'm sure the same obtains there. I have never been to Brazil, but I know that they can cook also. So Louis, we're going to enjoy this meal, and perhaps we will have a little subject that we can discuss. You know, we could discuss a little bit afterwards. So Lou, let me see what your plate looks like, girl. Oh yes. Let me see if you're smiling. Let me see if you're smiling. That is great. So my friends, thank you very much. I'm sorry that we can't share it with you, but we did offer Panther some food a while ago, but he is having his car repaired. So we want to thank him also for the kindness he and Natasha have done for us in the past, and all the other subscribers who have come forward and desire to help us in some way or the other. Now, this is not something that we have demanded. We have never demanded that anybody treat us well. You don't have to do that. When people want to treat you well, they do it from the bottom of their heart. So, Dale Tech boy and Kristy, thank you very much. People like Dinesh, they have come forward already. They have been kind to us. You know, they've been kind to us. So we accept their kindness. And we know others have accepted their kindness too.
Delicious.
Good Pelau boy. Good Pelau. Our grandchildren stopped last night. One came up with a box of KFC and a glass of, accompanied it, a glass of Pepsi, cold, tasty Pepsi. Why did they do it? They didn't do it because they felt that these old people were lonely and starving. No, it's a gesture of kindness. It's a gesture that they reach out.
Good cooking, very good food.
I can imagine that wonderful drive to Mayaro and beyond. Past Indian Bay on the way to Galiota Point and beyond. There you are. You know, Lou, I woke up this morning thinking about a man, and I made some pointers here. Back in 1955, a man died, an American lecturer, passed away, but he was very famous as a writer, a lecturer, a developer of courses in self-improvement, interpersonal skills, and many
Dale
other.
Carnegie you talking about?
Dale Carnegie. Right? Dale Carnegie, when he died in 1955, I would have been just 6 years old. Okay? But it was a name that Trinidadians were, of that time, adult Trinidadians would have been conscious of this man's. There was a radio program.
Lots of courses
Trinidadians did
with Dale Carnegie.
with Dale Carnegie.
Positive thinking.
One of the books that he wrote at the time was How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, I was 9 years old. That was nothing to me, really. But I saw a live demonstration in my family of how to win friends and influence people. I could think of my sisters, my brothers, over the years, their interaction with people, how to win friends and influence people. But you don't influence people because of self-preservation, because of selfish reasons, because you're focusing on yourself. No. You're trying to win to win friends and influence people along positive lines. Positive lines. But one thing we can rest assured, not everybody will be your friend. Not everybody from the start will be influenced by your effort to reach out, to be friendly, caring, thoughtful. Oh no, not everybody's going to do that. Sometimes people are set in their ways, you know what I mean? They're not going to shift from a stoic point of view. Carnegie's main thrust in his self-help guide to making persuasive presentations and forging positive relationships. He taught social and communication skills. The principles that he projected: 1. Show genuine interest in others. Smile. Remember names. Be a good listener. Be sincere. Avoid arguments which lead to quarrels, which lead to malice and guile and envy and evil speaking and all of that. One of the tips he gave, perhaps in the workplace, neighborhood, right? Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. To start with, who's listening? Who really wants to hear? Who really wants to hear?
Some people strive on criticism. You know.
Oh yeah. But we're not bothered about that.
But that's a good one to not criticize.
He says, give honest, sincere appreciation. Arouse in the other person an eager want to do better. Become genuinely interested in other people. Genuinely interested means to say, okay, you've had problems. And the golden rule, forgive and forget. Bury the hatchet, as someone said, don't mark the spot where you bury the hatchet. Remember, a person's name is the sweetest sound in any language. Well, I'm guilty of this. Sometimes we try to give a shout out and it doesn't come out right, and therefore we flop. And a name is very important, really. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to try to give a little shout out here, Louise, to people who have been supporting us, to people who have really been there for us. Indira Lachman, Margaret Cummins, Azisha Bola, Faz, K. Shinim, Anne Lambert Hanifa. These are people who have been positively contributing. Rajesh Ramnath, Shivani, Happy Days, Nisha Razak, Sally Kumar, Peggy Hussain, Indra Sinanan, Sunita Nimai, Vinita Prasad. Vinita Prasad, yes, I believe that Vinita Prasad deserves a special hello along with all these others. And there's somebody called Bish Bogger. And that person has been very helpful. Zenobia Mohammed, Patricia Torres. We want to thank you all very much.
I would like to add to that Wilma White. Wilma, I hope you had a good holiday with your grandkids and your son and daughter-in-law.
Is she back yet, you think?
She should be back. But Wilma, thinking about you, I made sure my mouth is not full for me to call you out before you're afraid I'm choking. So, good days. Florence Calcharan, Judy T. These are a lot of names that I remember. Kumar and Lisa, Shanta and Tony, Chandra and Carl. I hope that your fried bakes came out good, or your coconut bake, Chandra. Thank you all for the wonderful support. We appreciate the encouragement. As we always say, we are not psychiatrists nor psychologists, no marriage counselor.
But we talk about what works for us.
But we love to share what works for us. And there are many whose feedback is that it is helping them. And we are very happy that improvement in relationship, there's always something you can learn to improve your relationship. And we are happy to share our long life experience in marriage with you all. And thank you for encouraging us and letting us know that you appreciate it.
Well, Louise, I'm happy that you're smiling, because what Dale Carnegie says, a simple smile, the start of opening your heart and being compassionate to others. The start of opening your heart and being compassionate to others. Smiling lowers blood pressure. Would you believe it?
No wonder why my pressure is below.
And laughing will certainly send it right down to your toes. Smiling lowers blood pressure. Someone said smiling is nature's miracle medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that.
You believe that, right?
So far, so good. I'm smiling. Thank God.
No. We have had one or two little, odd comments. But I will not rush to delete or to block people who have what they call they feel the privilege to comment, even if it is adverse. And I'll tell you why. I take my stand from a creed in newspaper. It's called freedom of the press and democracy. Okay? So I am not bothered, really. I appreciate all those who are hurt by things that might be said to us. But I am not bothered. I am not really troubled when people say things that might be negative. So at this point, I want to talk about freedom of the press, freedom of your choice to express yourself, whether negatively, but certainly positively. Freedom of the press or freedom of the media is the fundamental principle that communication and expression through various media, including printed and electronic media, especially published material, should be considered a right to be exercised freely. So if we are accepting, even in social media, someone says something is not complimentary, that's your expression, that's your privilege to express something. Because the greater journalistic creed is out there. Freedom of the press. Someone quoted and said, freedom of the press is not just important to democracy, it is democracy. Freedom of the press is not just important to democracy, it is democracy. Isn't that a wonderful way to look at things? So if you are inclined to be positive and express yourself positively, that's all fair and square with you. If you feel that you should say something contrary, something adverse, that's also your privilege. And then what is negative influence? Negative influence is anything that corrupts the mind of those easily influenced and should be avoided. Right? So this is where Dale Carnegie comes in again. He's looking for positive influence for interpersonal skills development. That's what I think we should be trying. We should be aiming at. You know, we are aiming at developing a sound influence going out there. No matter what your situation, you have to keep your integrity. You have to maintain your maturity. Now, a lot of people might feel that we have avoided certain issues, but I want to make it very plain. People have been going along doing things in the world, they get into trouble, and then there's the tendency to draft others into it and say, okay, you kept silent. But when you were having your fun, and when you were having your debate, and when you were having whatever pertained to your family, you didn't really absorb or sought the influence of someone, perhaps a member of the family or whatnot. Rather, it got a little more distance. People were kind of shoved out of the way, right? Shoved out of the way. And now, if you are in a bind, I gotta find somebody to blame. I gotta find somebody to shoot down for my problem. Now, how could that ever be a positive influence? And you will find that there are people out there who will accept, okay, maybe I have been through all of this pressure. I have been through all of this pressure, and I'm glad to see someone now is getting the boot, right? But it is not, it's not human development. It's not human development. Even if no, what we are saying here brings adverse comments, 100 adverse comments, I still go by the precept that you are entitled to express yourself, right? So negative influence can corrupt the mind of those easily influenced, and that is a practice that should be avoided. There's no upliftment to a person's sense of decency and modesty. When confronted by a barrage of unkind comments about another person, the courageous response should be, please, enough. So if someone is bombarding me with negative comments about somebody else, you know what's the real thing to do? As a courageous citizen, listen. Really and truly, why not meet with this person to hear what has happened, to hear the other side of the story.
3 sides to the story.
Yours, mine,
and the truth.
And the truth.
Because I can give my version and
Right.
you can give yours. But what is the truth?
That's right.
And the truth is what will set you free. So you don't listen to one side of a story and jump on the bandwagon when you really don't know what's the other side.
There's a section that deals with the offenses against the Person Act of 2005, making harassment a criminal offense. Now, I'm not sure that I could talk about this because I was unclear whether this harassment was something sexual or something verbal. But I pressed on and I realized that, one of the things that people have to be careful about that comes up even in a journalistic sense is that sometimes you take the liberty to say things and it turns out to be a very libelous statement. And that's where people who have, can I just take this back a bit, Louis? That's why people who are not careful in their comments, even though it might even be social media, they are going to run into, perhaps, some smart lawyer will take this case up sometime, and you're going to find yourself facing a libel suit. right? And I don't believe really that this, will. I need to put this on a little bit. It's kind of, we're not professionals here. But it's nice to know, oops, this guy will get that. Let me hold it right here. Get us a little more. But I'll hold it because it's odd for you to do that, right? I have to finish Dale's food in a little while. Freedom of the press or freedom of the media is the fundamental principle that communication and expression through various media, including printed and electronic media, especially published material, should be considered a right to be exercised freely. Okay, we did that already. Sorry. Okay, let's move on again on that here. Forgive me, please. I've lost my sense of direction here. Now, if in this matter of freedom of harassment, like I'm not very clear about, once a person hits 2 occasions of the same harassment, it can be interpreted as a legal offense, right? So we want to bear that in mind. Now, in verbal abuse, is verbal abuse a crime in Trinidad and Tobago? And the answer is yes. Verbal abuse, anyone who pursues such a conduct amounting to harassment of another, and which he knows or ought to know amounts to harassment, is guilty of an offense, is liable to pay a fine of $2,000 and to imprisonment for 6 months. Right? Now that is verbal abuse. So all I'm trying to do here is to say, let's go here now. Right?
You have a pack of cards here?
I've got a pack of cards. In the old days, I would have had a proper notebook, but seeing I'm not at the Express and my wife has not bought me a proper notebook, I have a little pack of cards here that ready. Right? What is verbal abuse? Right? What is verbally abusive, so to speak? Also known as emotional abuse, verbal abuse is a range of words or behaviors used to manipulate, intimidate, and maintain power and control over someone. These include insults, humiliation and ridicule, the silent treatment, and attempts to scare, isolate, and control. Psychological effects.
That wasn't physical abuse, boy.
Well, I tell you, psychological effects of verbal abuse include fear and anxiety. So somebody is getting, verbally abused. What does it produce in that person? It produces fear and anxiety, depression, stress, intrusive memories. Something unpleasant keeps coming right back, right? Memory gap disorders, sleep or eating problems, hypervigilance. Now that's something pretty odd, eh? Hypervigilance, right? Unexaggerated, startled responses, irritability, anger issues, alcohol and drug abuse, suicide, self-harm, and assaultive behaviors, right? Internet abuses, one of the main things about internet abuses is cyberbullying, right? Again, we come back now to this question of your liberty to say things, to write things, regardless of a person's feelings. When you do that and you bring down another person, you are actually creating the destruction of a personality. You're eroding their humanity. And where's it going to lead to? You know what I call that? I call that room for doom. Room for doom is just not doing the right thing, saying the right thing, expressing abusive talk, right? Now, all of this here, we could learn in a journalistic way. We could ignore. because we are comfortable, perhaps, in our approach to things. It's also said that there are 3 types of verbal abuse. Blaming. Making someone feel they did something deserving of verbal abuse. So it's blame. We're shedding blame, right? It's easy for partners, spouses to do this in irreconcilable, environment. Criticizing. Harsh remarks of judgment that aren't constructive and are deliberately hurtful. So now, you want to jump on something. You want to harp on something. So you're going to let the person have it. It's not constructive. It's harmful. But you get a deep sense of, hey man, let me blast that person. I'm going to blast that person. Right? Especially where your comments come into print. A person could always go back to it and could decide that this person has been, unkind. I'm going to use a strong word, malicious. This person has been malicious. And gradually you are exposed to a scrutiny by viewers, by neighbors, in your own home, that kindness does not exist. So we have a lot to lose when we don't stick to the right things. Now, there's a term that I have never heard before because I don't really delve into it, but I have heard it used by some, gaslighting. What is it? Denying your perceptions to the point when, hold on, let me get this right here. Denying your perceptions to the point when you question your instincts and reality. The perceptions. Okay. So I guess that somebody with a weak frame of mind is going to be terribly affected. And because you have set ablaze a doubt in a person's heart and mind, it's going to be tough now to understand, hey boy, what's going on here? I'm not sure I got the right concept. Maybe somebody out there could really fill me in on this matter of gaslighting. You see, the thing about it is this. When we grew up in our day in Cora, we didn't have all of this kind of rubbish to deal with,
This is brand new stories.
If you have a problem, if my brother had a problem with an ex-brother, they sit down and they talk it out. And if mother didn't like something that father did, father will know for sure that mother is unhappy. And he might take a day or two and he will come around and he will say to mother, I'm sorry about doing this. So we grew up with that kind of, let me not talk for anybody. I grew up with that kind of concept that, hey, saying sorry, patching up and moving on is absolutely important. And the children are there to witness my behavior, and they are very, very keen on what is happening between us as youngsters, and they're moving to teenage life. And if we are pursuing the same rubbish of not getting together, not gelling together,
it's gonna be a recurrence decimal from generation to generation.
Yeah, of course.
Bad blood is flow far,
Bad blood is real flow far. Yeah. So we need to know that maturity, again, we come back to the same question of maturity. Maturity is to have balanced personality. All right? A balanced personality. Now, Louise and I could only talk about things that have been evident in our marriage. We are not here to really impress you. We're not here to
save your marriage.
We're not here. We can't save anybody's marriage.
Or every marriage has to work.
No, every marriage doesn't work well, but every marriage doesn't have to fail either. Right?
And it is tips to foster happier living.
Happier living.
That's all. tips to foster.
Yeah, that's all we want.
I've had someone spoke to me from New York, and she said to me, you know, that little skit an Uncle Lance had, and you brought home the little brown paper bag with something to eat for him, and he was so happy. The next time she went out, she decided to carry something home for her husband, and he was so happy that she thought about him. And that is the beginning of, you know, kindness to each other. Sometimes you never think about something. It wasn't anything bad that you were doing that you didn't think about carrying home something for your husband. Or, you know what I mean? But then when you see the reaction, you say, I must do that. Try it and see, you know.
That's
so
right.
it is really to encourage a happier relationship. You know? And these little things meant a lot to me in my marriage, in our marriage. Things that I did, sometimes not even realizing. You're not going out of your way to do it. Probably it's just a natural trait in you. But others can learn from, you know, sharing experiences.
That's right.
And really, that's what it's all about. And and we always say that we are no marriage counselors,
Yeah.
but we like to share our experience, and we are happy for those who accept it and even put it into practice. We are very happy, and we really hope that better days are there for them. But that's all it is about.
I am tempted at this point to point out something that is very fundamental to, perhaps I should leave it alone.
Well, at this stage, I can't do that.
Okay. I will tell you
Move
something.
to say something.
I am going to say something now that maybe it's only part of what I could say. Sometimes parents are seen as troublesome in somebody else's marriage, right? And I'm going to be very specific here. Ellis and Lasana have had their problems, and they're still having their little problems. I shouldn't say little, really. They're still having problems. One of the comments made was, we were not there for Ellis. And I want to say that that is a misunderstanding. If Ellis really can look herself in the mirror, or can look us in the eye and recall things that happened where we were there for her, I don't believe that we are going to get these kind of responses, negative responses. I'm not going to really say things because it might sound boastful and, you know, I'm blowing my own trumpet. But it would be a real stroke of courage if Ellis would come out and admit all the help that our family gave her, all the help that was granted to her. It will go a long way in solving a lot of problems and misunderstandings that people have out there. She has been very fortunate. She has been very fortunate to have received the kind of help she got from us all. I would not deny that when Lasana had his problem, it was asked at the hospital whether we would have him because he had nowhere else to go. And he came here. And Lasana bravely, conscientiously brought Mel back to Cora when things looked pretty tight and grim for her. I would not say my contribution in that effort because it sounds like I'm, uplifting myself. But Ellis's responsibility is to really proclaim publicly what my family my wife and my children have done for her family, for she and Lasana and the girls. So, we're going to end this little session here. We're going to end this little session here with a smile, because that's what Dale Carnegie said. When you smile, it's a miracle medicine. So thank you, my friends. I did not give this last part as a means of controversy, but as a little snippet into declaring that the truth is Mel has been a very fortunate woman. Fortunate that we never, as parents of Lasana, declared any war against her. If I fail now to respond when I go to Cora to Ellis, it is because I want to be safe. I want to be safe and not ruffle the nest that has been in the making. Understand this. If I go to Cora and I do not choose, and I simply do not choose to communicate with Mel, it is because I do not want to be accused of wrong saying, wrongdoing, or anything like that. It has cost me quite a lot to come out in the open with this. And that's as far as I will go. Today, this issue stops with me. This issue stops with Louise. It will stop with my family. And this is the truth. Mel needs to tell people the help she has got along the way. Not only from us, but from subscribers who have heard her story, heard their story, and therefore they reached out. And one ought to be grateful, and we are grateful that you out there have helped Lasana's family, have helped Lasana, have even helped Ellis. And once decency continues, you can't stop the flow of love. So my friends, thank you very much for being patient. Hope it works for all. Bye-bye. Louise?
Bye.